Who's ready to get a little bit better? If so, you should just shout really loud, yeah! You seriously should do it wherever you're at, just for fun. Okay, so today I want to specifically talk to business owners. If you are a business owner, this video is for you. I work with a lot of small business owners, clients all across the country. And there's something that we've been really focused on lately, which I'm going to come around to. But I want to tell you first how it typically presents when I'm having a conversation with a business owner. Maybe it's in a mastermind and it's coming up, or I'm working with a one-on-one. And the frustration that comes, the pain that a business owner feels is, how do I fix these freaking employees? Like, how do I fix my team? How do I get them to do what they need to do, and not just get it done, but do it the way I would do it, right? Like, I gave them the process, but then they did this to a client, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, the client's supposed to go first. They should know that, right? And so there's this pain point of like, the team isn't strong, the team isn't functioning optimally, the team isn't taking ownership, they're not taking responsibility, like they're just not as invested as me. They don't take the same kind of ownership. Like, business owners, are you feeling me? If you're feeling me, say yes in the comments, because like, this is a real deal. And when your team is not functioning at optimal levels, when they're not doing things the way you want them to be done, when they're not interacting with clients and customers the way you want them to interact, excuse me, maybe they're not executing at the standard that you have. That's a lot of issues that I'm rolling out here, right? And if you're a business owner, you've probably experienced all of them and then some at some point. I mean, unless you were perfect from the get-go and right out of the gate. But I'm guessing most of you, like me, you've had to learn a few things along the way and made a few mistakes. So, but what's the real answer to that? Like, how do I fix my team? How do I fix my employees? Like, how do I get them locked in and invested and taking ownership? Like, all those things, how you do it? Well, the way we typically answer that is we go to the solution. We create, well, like I say, solution up here because it's not a solution down here. We go to tactical level solutions. I heard Keith Cunningham, highly recommend his book, The Road Less Stupid. Great book. Whole premise of the book, The Road Less Stupid, is you don't have to make all the right decisions. You just have to avoid stupid. And if you can avoid stupid, then you can be successful in business. But in that book, he talks about this idea that if you deal with a problem tactically, that means the employees aren't showing up on time. And so our tactical solution is, if you go 30 days without missing, showing up on time and never being late, then you get a reward. You get some kind of incentive. Or if you are late, then you get a punishment. Like, we go to a tactical solution, like, okay, like we need a better time clock, or it's not easy enough for him to clock in, or our parking is bad. Like, these are tactical level solutions, right? But if you deal at a tactical level, you're only going to get like things sustained for as long as those tactics work. But if instead you go strategic, you go deep root stuff, like, that's when things get changed and they are sustainable. And so tactically, like, all that stuff that I was talking about earlier, the pain points that you're talking about, like, you can come up with some great plans, some great strategies, some great systems, processes, all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, if you just address it at a tactical level, it's not going to create sustainable change in your organization. All right. So what is the real answer to how do I fix my team? How do I get them to take ownership? How do I get them to do what I want them to do the way I want them to do it? The answer is, you got to shift your culture. Like, you don't have a team problem. You've got a culture problem. And most of you heard this statement. I don't know who said it first, but culture will trump vision all day. Some of you got a business, you launched it, you hustled, you grinded, you built it from the ground up, you created something awesome. Boom. Way to go. You're freaking awesome. Like, 95% of businesses close in the first year. Something like that's the stat. And so, like, you built something, and so you worked hard, and now your team doesn't work as hard as you. And they don't take as much ownership as you. And like, that's really frustrating to you. Like, what happens is, once your team gets to like critical mass, like 7, 8 people, if you have not established the culture with intention, like this is what we believe, this is how we operate, this is how we do what we do, if you haven't not intentionally set that frame for them, by the time you got 8 employees, they have already established it for you. So like those first few team members, they're so close to you, like they do it the way you do it, and they take a measure of ownership. But the further it gets removed from you, the more the people around you are going to establish a culture instead of you establishing that. And so if you want to take back your company, your business, the one that you built, it's not going to become from like top down, do this, don't do that. It's not going to become from those tactics. It's going to come from some deep work in your business to create sustainable change. And so the outcome you're going after is we want to shift in culture where ownership is at a high level. The standards are at a high level. They care about people the way you care about people. They solve problems the way you solve problems. Because listen, a company's values, the way they operate, are going to reflect the owner. But if those values are only in you or in your head or in the few that are close enough to you, what happens is we got this, the term they use is tribal knowledge. Great book called Tribal Leadership. Check that one out if this little video is resonating with you. Tribal Leadership is a great book. But if you have tribal knowledge, but it is not documented, codified, clear, so that everybody can have access to the same knowledge, and you actually train that into your culture, then your culture is going to deteriorate the further away from you that it gets. And so you want to shift your culture, you want to fix your team, fix your employees, then you need to shift your culture. And guess who got to take ownership for that, buckaroo? That's you, baby. You are the owner. You are the entrepreneur. You are the visionary. And so you may have some work to do. So if I was going to come to you and you want to fix it, I got 3 levels for you. If you want to shift culture, you can't start with shifting culture. So little framework, this is what when I work with corporate clients and I go into small businesses, actually small businesses, large businesses, I've taught the same framework. And so 3 levels of organizational transformation is what I'm going to give you. 3 levels of organizational transformation. Level 1, most businesses don't have the level of commitment to culture to invest in this one. The ones that do, every single one, they have extraordinary cultures. Level 1, personal development. You've got to create a growth environment where anybody who's on your team can thrive. And it's not just about what you get out of them. It's not just about the widgets that they produce. It's not just about the bottom line. Those things are important. I'm not disregarding them, but you got to create a culture where growth is the norm, where people are personally, individually taking ownership of becoming the best version of themselves. Because if you got 10 people on your team who all taking ownership of becoming the best version of themselves, are they going to be a better team leader? Of course they are, right? But too often we jump straight to leadership and culture and we say, no, we want them to get it done. We want them to get the results, but we don't take the time to invest in them as individuals. I went in with a company last year and we did 4 different days over 7, 8 months. And we went in and worked and I did a full day and I worked with a team of about 75. And then we broke down to about 20 of their leaders. And then I worked with the executive level team. And the whole premise was based on these 3 levels of organizational transformation. And so for the first 2 days, we went in and almost 100% of the time was dedicated to level 1. Lighting a fire in people for developing themselves. We didn't talk business. We didn't talk shop. We didn't talk about accountability levels and communication channels and product and revenue. We didn't talk anything. We talked about lighting a fire in them to become the best version of themselves. We helped them take back their power, because when you got a company full of people who took back their power and they're becoming the best version of themselves, that is the foundation for a phenomenal culture, an unstoppable company, if you got a group of people who are committed to growth. So level 1 is personal development. Level 2, once you get them bought into developing themselves, then you can develop them as leaders. Level 2 is leadership development. So you got people committed and bought on to become the best version of themselves. Then you get the fun. Woo-hoo! It is so much fun when you light a fire in someone to become the best, and then you say, listen, when you become the best version of you, you get the privilege and the responsibility to help others become the best version of themselves. And you get to develop them and lead them and help them to say, hey, how do you lead the people around you? How do you develop healthy culture? How do you get people, because 90% of people I talk to anyways, they are conflict averse. And so how do you get people to have healthy conflict? How do you hold one another accountable as a team? How do you take someone who is not a leader, they have no leadership experience, and develop them so they have confidence to lead a team, to lead a department, right? So it's leadership development. And there's so much content out there. But if you don't have people that have a desire, level one, personal development, to become a leader, then you're wasting your time. Like you're casting your pearls before swine. There's a Bible verse that talks about like, hey, don't waste your energy, basically, right? Like if you got people that don't care about growth and you try to develop them as leaders, like it's not even going to work. So light the fire for them to become the best version. Then say, you know what? Now we get to help other people grow and become the best version of themselves. So then you got people that are lit up. You got people that know they have a responsibility to lead, and leadership is influence, baby. And so we're going to make the people around us better, which makes the company better. And then level 3 is culture development. So personal development, leadership development, and culture development. Like once you got people lit up and people leading, then it's easy to develop culture. And so much of it will flow from the things you did in the first step and the second step. Now, this isn't like a nice, neat little, like you only got to do one 100%, and then you do 2, and then you do 3. Like literally, you might be doing all 3 at the same time, but you have to know that the foundation is that personal development component. If you got people around you who are becoming better every day, then it's much easier to develop them as leaders, and they're going to be bought into creating culture. Now, the biggest thing I will say with culture is a lot of people got some core values up on a wall, and that's great. But if there's not a way to measure and track those values in your company, there's a reason why your culture sucks. And you're like, but we got core values on our wall, right? Like you need to be able to measure and define that. And I've had the privilege, the honor of working with several companies this past year and helping them go through this process to not just have values on a wall, but for the values to reflect the owners, and then for the team to buy in to those values. And not just values, but here's the value and here's the outcome that we're going after. And everybody's clear on that outcome. And then not only that, we've got some behaviors that's like, we're going to consistently do these 3 things so that we live into those values. For instance, like you could have a value of trust. That's great. But like, how do you know if we're living into that value? Well, we have an outcome. When we have trust, the outcome is that people can rely on us. Okay, great. That sounds all great, but like, how do you measure that in a team culture? Like, how do we do trust in our environment? So then you put some concrete measurement in there to the effect of, hey, we talk to people, not about them. So if you got gossip on your team, that's not building trust. But now we've got a concrete behavior that we will hold you accountable to, and you're going to be accountable. Like if you talk about someone instead of to them, like, hey, we got a framework here. You're not going to do that. Another behavior could be we do the right thing for the right reason, even when it's hard. And that's going to build trust in our organization. Another one could be we communicate promptly with each other. We respond promptly. I'm just making a few of these up, but like you get the idea that all of a sudden we've got a framework that makes those. So culture development, it can't be ambiguous. It's got to be concrete. And culture, just when we talk about it, it feels kind of, ooh, culture, right? Like our culture sucks. But like, for instance, if your team isn't doing what you want them to do the way you want them to do it, and you put some frame in there about the behaviors and how you function as a team, then all of a sudden the gray area goes away and everybody knows what's the expectation. When you got clear expectation, you can get outcomes consistently. So 3 levels: personal development, leadership development, culture development. That can transform your organization. And guess what? You're going to stop asking the stupid question of how do I fix my team? And you're going to start asking better questions like, how can I make my team thrive? What's going to make them come alive? How can I help them get past those beliefs that have held them back and they've failed in other jobs But when they come to my company, they're going to be able to get lit up and get equipped and get empowered to be the best version of themselves. And then you're going to say, oh, great, now that happened. Now, like, how can I create better leaders? Then you're going to say, how can we create a culture that we don't have to go after people? People are going to be beating down our door because we have such an amazing culture that people want to come to our company. They're leaving other companies to come to ours because we got this amazing culture. So your questions are going to change when you start laying a firm foundation and you're growing your team in a healthy way. Guess what? All that starts with you, baby. If you are the business owner, you built this thing, do not let it fade away because it loses the integrity of who you are. Like if you build a company, there's something special about you. Like there's something in you that called you, pushed you, drew you to that. Like there's something special about you. So don't let your company lose that. And the only way you do that is by being intentional about how you build your organization. So, curious, what's the takeaway from this call? Would love for you to drop it in the comments. This isn't a call, this is a video. I do a lot of calls every week, so it slipped out. What is your takeaway from this? Maybe which one of those 3 levels, personal development, leadership development, culture development, which one do you need to start? Where are you at in that process? Which one do you need to start with addressing? So, hope this served you well. You guys are freaking awesome. I love you all. This is where you should get off this video right now and go out there and give your greatness to the world because somebody needs what's on the inside of you. I love y'all. Have a great week.